If you are reading this right now, pause for a moment and recognize that your presence here is not random. There is something heaven has been waiting to reveal to you, and the timing of this message matters more than you might initially understand. Not because God functions in the realm of panic or operates with the kind of urgency that fear produces, but because certain truths have their appointed season. Their designated moment when the soil is ready, when your spirit is prepared to receive what it needs to hear, and when the circumstances have aligned in such a way that the revelation can actually take root and produce the freedom it was meant to bring. And chosen one, this is your moment. Something that has been operating in the shadows, hidden in plain sight within your most intimate circle, within the relationships you hold closest, is about to be exposed fully to the light. The relationship heaven is addressing right now is not about someone peripheral to your life. Not a casual acquaintance you see occasionally, not a co-worker you can keep at professional distance. Not someone from your past whose influence has naturally faded with time and geography. This is someone who occupies sacred space in your life. Someone who knows the details of your daily existence. Someone who has a permanent seat at your family table, who shows up at every significant gathering, who is woven into the fabric of your history in ways that make separation feel almost impossible. Someone who shares your bloodline or is close enough to it that the connection feels unbreakable, protected by the weight of family loyalty and all the unspoken rules that come with it. Chosen one, heaven is pulling back the curtain on a sister in your life. And when I use the word sister, I want you to understand it in its fullest, most comprehensive sense. This could be a biological sister, someone you grew up with in the same house. It could be a cousin who was raised close enough to feel like a sister. It could be a family friend, so integrated into your family system that she might as well be blood. The one person everyone assumes you are closest to, the one people expect you to confide in, the one whose bond with you appears so solid from the outside that questioning it feels almost like betrayal. The revelation that is coming about this relationship is not small. It is not a minor misunderstanding or a simple personality clash that can be resolved with a conversation. What heaven is bringing to light runs deeper than surface-level conflict. It is a pattern, a long-standing dynamic, a systematic approach to your life that has been operating beneath the visible layer of family interaction for longer than you may have realized. You have already sensed this truth, even if you have not been able to name it clearly or speak it out loud. There is that subtle but persistent discomfort that settles over you whenever she enters a room, a tightening in your chest that you cannot quite explain to anyone else, because it seems too vague, too subjective, too much like you are the one with the problem. The way certain conversations with her leave you feeling drained and diminished, as if something was extracted from you during the exchange. Though you cannot point to a specific moment where anything obviously harmful was said, the strange and repeated pattern of things going sideways in your life shortly after you share good news with her. Setbacks that arrive with such consistent timing that your spirit registers the connection even while your mind dismisses it as paranoid thinking. The unsettling realization that the version of you she presents to other people, the way she describes your life and your choices and your character in family conversations never quite aligns with the person you know yourself to be. It is always slightly off, subtly distorted, just enough that it creates a gap between how you experience yourself and how others in the family have come to perceive you based on her narrative. You have dismissed these observations more times than you can count. Every time the unease surfaced, you pushed it back down. You told yourself you were overthinking, being too sensitive, looking for problems that were not really there. You reasoned with yourself that family loyalty means extending grace, giving the benefit of the doubt, not jumping to conclusions about people you are supposed to trust unconditionally. You convinced yourself that if something were genuinely wrong, truly harmful, the evidence would be clear and undeniable. Not this collection of subtle feelings and strange coincidences that could be explained away individually, even if they felt significant when viewed as a whole. But here is the truth. Chosen one, you did know. You have always known. The signal was never unclear. It was just too painful to face directly. That changes today, because the kind of love God has is not the kind that keeps secrets to preserve comfort. It is the love that exposes what needs to be seen, so that real healing can finally begin. What is being revealed is not meant to tear your family apart. It is meant to set you free from a pattern that has been quietly draining your life force for years. If this resonates with you, go ahead and leave a comment below. Even just the word Amen. Your engagement helps this message reach others who need to hear it. Before I walk you through exactly what she has been doing, the specific tactics and patterns that have shaped this dynamic, I need you to understand something essential about who you are and what you carry. Because her behavior, all of it, did not originate in random malice or causeless cruelty. It started with recognition. It began the moment she perceived something in you that made her uncomfortable at a level she may never have fully named, even in her own private thoughts. You have carried something from the very beginning that set you apart from the normal flow of ordinary life. A sense of purpose and calling that refused to fit comfortably into conventional expectations or standard life paths. A capacity for vision, for spiritual depth, for seeing beyond the surface of things that other people around you simply did not seem to experience in the same way or with the same intensity. An internal pull toward something greater, something more, something beyond what the average person settles for. A pull that would not be silenced or suppressed, no matter how many times you tried to quiet it down, blend in, and just be like everyone else. That light you carry, that unique quality of purpose and presence, was visible to her from the earliest stages of your relationship, and it triggered something in her. It made her deeply, profoundly uncomfortable in ways she probably never fully articulated to herself, let alone to anyone else, because your light did not exist in isolation. It did not just illuminate your own path forward. It also, inadvertently and without any intention on your part, exposed the areas in her own life where she was not walking in fullness, not operating in her own calling, not pursuing what she was created for. Your very existence, thriving in purpose, or even just reaching toward it, became a mirror that reflected back to her things she did not want to see about her own choices, her own compromises, her own unfulfilled potential. Every single time you stepped into a season of favor, every time something good happened in your life that made your gifts more visible, it functioned like a spotlight on the gap between what she was doing with her life and what she could be doing. Every time you were selected for something, recognized for your abilities, promoted, honored, or blessed in ways that other people noticed, it reminded her of callings on her own life that she had chosen not to answer. Opportunities she had let pass, potential she had left undeveloped. And rather than dealing with that internal discomfort honestly, rather than facing what your success revealed about her own stagnation, she found it much simpler, much easier, much less painful to manage you, to control the narrative around you, to keep your ceiling low enough that the comparison stopped being so uncomfortable, to dim your light just enough that standing next to you no longer felt like standing next to an accusation. This is where the pattern began. not out of hatred for you specifically, but from an unresolved discomfort with what your existence revealed about her own choices. You became the problem she attempted to solve by making you smaller. Let me now be specific about what she has been doing, not in vague spiritual language, not in metaphors that you can dismiss, but in plain terms, because you deserve to see the pattern with absolute clarity so you can stop questioning whether your instincts were valid. The first strategy she employed was narrative control. She carefully managed the story of who you are to everyone around you. She was strategic about this. She did not tell outright lies because those can be easily disproven. Instead, she used something far more surgical. She took the true parts of your journey, the struggles, the setbacks, the vulnerable moments you shared with her in confidence, and she reframed them. Your seasons of stillness became evidence of instability. Your emotional depth became a sign of weakness. The times you stumbled were presented as your defining traits rather than temporary chapters in a much larger story. She did this gradually, consistently, and always disguised as concern. To anyone listening, she sounded like someone who cared deeply, but the outcome was always identical. People walked away with a diminished, uncertain image of you that did not match reality, and you felt it. You noticed the subtle shift in how certain people began to relate to you. A hesitation that was not there before. A guardedness in their responses, a quality of doubt when you spoke about your dreams. You could not trace it back to a single source because she covered her tracks carefully, but your spirit registered it. The seed of suspicion that appeared in those relationships did not grow there naturally. It was planted. If you have experienced someone close to you quietly reshaping your story, take a second to like this video. It helps the algorithm show this to others who are walking through the same thing. The second tactic she used was positioning. She made sure she appeared as the stable, reliable one, while you were framed as the complicated variable. Every family system has roles, and those roles are not always determined by truth. Sometimes they are claimed by whoever tells their version first and most consistently. She understood this instinctively. She made herself available at strategic moments. She showed up when visibility mattered. She said the appropriate things to the right people at the right times. And whenever a situation created contrast between her apparent stability and your complexity, she ensured that contrast was noticed. She did not need dramatic gestures. She simply maintained her position as the reasonable one while you were quietly categorized as the difficult one. Over time, this contrast became the accepted family narrative. The most painful part of this dynamic was the isolation it created, not physical separation, but relational distance. Family members who absorbed her version without question built an invisible barrier between themselves and you. You were still invited to gatherings, you still had a chair at the table, but there was an imperceptible wall between you and the full acceptance that should have been yours. You felt it in every conversation, present but not truly welcomed, included but not actually seen, chosen one. What you felt was accurate. You were not imagining things, you were not being oversensitive. You were perceiving something real that everyone around you had been conditioned not to notice. The third and most damaging thing she did was intercept your moments of elevation. Whenever something significant was beginning to open in your life, a new opportunity, a breakthrough season, a relationship moving in a healthy direction, a calling starting to gain traction, she found a way to introduce friction at precisely the wrong moment. It was never obvious. It came as a comment that seeded doubt right when you needed confidence. A conversation with someone key to your opportunity that subtly undermined your credibility. A well-timed crisis that demanded your attention and energy right when you needed to focus forward. a piece of advice that sounded helpful but actually steered you away from the open door. She had an instinct for these moments, the times when momentum was building, when favor was becoming visible, when the next level was within reach, and she knew exactly how to create just enough disruption to stall the process without appearing to be the source of the problem. This was not accidental. This was strategic interference disguised as family involvement. Heaven has been observing all of it, not as a distant, disinterested observer, but as a father who sees every detail of what his children walk through. Every single conversation where your words were twisted, just slightly, reframed in ways that changed their meaning and impact. Every opportunity that was quietly undermined, sabotaged through subtle interference that left no obvious fingerprints. Every moment when you were made to feel small, inadequate, or problematic in spaces where you should have been celebrated, encouraged, and supported. Every private tear you cried, wondering why your own family circle felt more like opposition than support. Why the people closest to you seemed to be the ones creating the most resistance to your progress. God has a record of all of it. Nothing was missed. Nothing was overlooked. And now, in this specific season that you have entered, He is doing something about it. The exposure that is unfolding is not motivated by revenge or punishment. This is not about making her suffer or humiliating her publicly. It is about restoration. It is about truth being established so clearly, so undeniably, that no amount of narrative management or story control can override it or spin it differently. Heaven is bringing facts into the light in ways that will require absolutely no explanation, no defense, no case building from you. You will not need to convince anyone of what happened. You will not need to present evidence or make arguments or try to get people to see what they have been missing. The truth will present itself through the natural unfolding of events that are already in motion, through circumstances that are being orchestrated even as you read these words. People in your family circle and beyond are going to start seeing patterns they previously overlooked, connections they did not notice before, behaviors they excused or explained away that will suddenly become clear in a new light. Conversations from years ago are going to be remembered with fresh context. Things that seemed innocent at the time will be recognized for what they actually were. Behaviors that appeared helpful or concerned will be seen for the manipulation they contained. And the sister who worked so meticulously, so carefully to control the narrative about who you are, who spent years constructing a particular image of you in other people's minds, is going to watch that constructed version collapse under the simple weight of observable reality, of truth that no longer needs her interpretation to make sense. This is already happening. Chosen one. You may have already noticed small shifts, moments where people seem to be seeing you differently, instances where her usual influence does not land the way it used to. Situations where the truth speaks louder than her framing. These are not coincidences. These are the early signs of a divine correction that is gaining momentum. The people who were given a distorted image of you are about to encounter the real you in contexts that make denial impossible. Not because you campaigned for yourself or spent energy trying to set the record straight, but simply because the authentic you operating in the fullness of what was sealed over your life is more compelling than any false narrative about you. When they see you walking in your actual calling, functioning in the gifts that were always present, moving in the favor that was written over your life before you were born, the story they were told will not hold. The evidence will be too strong, and chosen one, the same people who received the wrong picture, will become witnesses to the correction. They will observe the difference between what they were led to believe and what they can now see with their own eyes. That contrast will communicate its own message, one that you did not have to speak, one that heaven composed on your behalf, using your faithfulness and your refusal to become what the pressure tried to make you. The sister who managed your story will watch this unfold. She will see the very people she influenced start to receive you in ways she did not anticipate. She will see doors open that she quietly tried to close. She will see recognition arrive that she attempted to redirect, and she will understand, perhaps for the first time at the level where truth actually penetrates, that what she tried to prevent was never in her power to stop. Walk into this season with your head up, chosen one. Move quietly. Without announcement, without needing to make the correction visible yourself. Let heaven make it visible. Let your life be the evidence. Let the opening of doors be the statement. You carry something that cannot be suppressed by any amount of strategy or management. Your light is too persistent. Your calling is too specific. Your assignment is too anchored in divine purpose to remain confined in the box someone else tried to build around it. Everything that was taken from you in this season, the relational ground, the opportunities that were diverted, the breakthroughs that were delayed, heaven is returning it all. Not necessarily through the same doors or with the same timing, but with the same substance, and in many cases more, because God does not restore by simply returning you to the starting point. He restores by releasing what was always meant to be yours, including the portion that was held back by interference. The sister situation is not the final word over your life. It is the obstacle being cleared before the season that no one who tried to limit you will be able to explain or quietly redirect. It is the removal of what was blocking the path before that path opens completely. And chosen one, that path is opening now. Let me speak directly to you now about what is coming into your life in the season that follows this one. Because this is important for you to understand. What God removes from your life, He replaces, and what He brings in to replace what was removed tends to be of significantly higher quality than what was taken away. This is not just spiritual theory or comforting language. It is a pattern woven throughout Scripture and throughout the lives of people who have walked through seasons of divine exposure and restoration. The replacement comes after the preparation, after the difficult season has done its work in you, after you have learned what you needed to learn about discernment, about boundaries, about the difference between family connection and genuine support. The connections that are coming into your life now, in this next chapter, are people who will see you accurately from the very beginning of your interaction with them. Not because you had to perform for them, or carefully manage how they perceive you, or work hard to convince them of your worth and your character, but simply because they are not carrying the weight of a pre-existing narrative about you. A story that was built and maintained by someone with a competing agenda, someone who had reasons to keep you small that had nothing to do with who you actually are. These new people will encounter you directly, without the filter, without the distortion. They will receive the actual you, the full you, the unedited and unmanaged version of who you are. And they will recognize what they are looking at, not with shock or surprise, not with the need to be convinced, but with the kind of quiet, natural recognition that happens when two people who were meant to be in each other's lives at a specific season finally cross paths at the appointed time. These relationships and connections will feel fundamentally different from what you have been navigating in recent years. There will be an ease to them, a flow, a quality of natural mutual respect and understanding that you may not immediately know how to trust. Because ease, comfort, effortless connection has not been the defining quality of your most significant relationships during this season you are coming out of. You have been conditioned, trained really, through years and years of navigating dynamics that required constant management, constant vigilance, constant emotional labor just to maintain basic peace. You learned to associate relational depth with difficulty. You came to believe, perhaps without even realizing it, that if a relationship does not cost you something substantial, if it does not require you to constantly prove yourself or defend yourself or work for basic acceptance, then it must not be as real or as significant. But Chosen One, that belief, that equation of difficulty with depth, was installed in you by a relational system that directly benefited from you working hard for love and acceptance that should have been freely given from the start. It was not truth. It was conditioning that served someone else's agenda. The connections that are coming will demonstrate that depth and ease are not opposites. That love does not have to be hard to be real. That being seen accurately does not require you to fight for it. In these new relationships, your voice will carry differently. What you say will land. The way you perceive situations will be received as insight rather than dismissed as oversensitivity. The gifts, perspective, and quality of attention you bring will be welcomed instead of managed. And in that environment of genuine reception, you will discover capacities in yourself that the previous dynamic was suppressing. Dimensions of your calling that were waiting for the right relational soil before they could take root. This is part of what the exposure is creating space for. Not only the removal of what was harmful, but the arrival of what was always meant to occupy that space. Heaven does not work in vacuums. When it clears something, it is preparing the ground for something specific. And what is specific in this season is the quality of connection, community, and relational support that actually matches who you are and where you are going. Before we close, if this word confirms something your spirit has been carrying quietly, if this message gave language to what you already sensed, would you consider supporting this ministry? You can find the link in the description or scan the code on your screen. Every seed sown helps this word reach another chosen one in the middle of a similar situation who needs to know heaven sees what is happening to them. May what you give return to you multiplied in the form of restored relationships, reopened doors, and every delayed breakthrough now arriving in fullness. Chosen One, receive this now. You were not wrong. You were not paranoid. You were not too sensitive. You were discerning, faithful, and chosen in a season that required all three. What was hidden is being exposed. What was interfered with is being restored. What was taken is being returned. Move forward. Heaven has already gone ahead of you, and what waits on the other side of this exposure is worth every moment of the journey. One final word before you go. And I need you to hear this clearly and hold it close as you move forward. The sister in your life, whatever her actual name happens to be, whatever specific form this dynamic has taken in your unique situation and family structure, is not the author of your story. She is not the one writing the narrative of your life. She was a character, a significant character perhaps, but still just a character in a chapter that is now closing. A season that is coming to its appointed end. She does not hold the pen that writes your future. She never held that pen, even when it seemed like she had significant power to shape how others saw you or what opportunities came your way. The one who holds the pen of your life, the one who has always held it and will continue to hold it into every season ahead, is the same one who sealed something specific and powerful over you before you took your first breath, before you had a name, before anyone in your family even knew you were coming. The one who has observed and recorded every single moment of what you have walked through in this difficult season. Every instance of misrepresentation, every act of subtle sabotage, every tear you cried in private when the weight of family dysfunction became too heavy to carry in silence. The one who is now actively writing the chapter that comes after this exposure, after this revelation, after the truth has been fully established. That chapter, chosen one. That next season of your life is one that neither she nor anyone else who attempted to limit you, control you, or keep you confined to their preferred version of who you should be will be able to predict, prevent, or interfere with in the way they have interfered with seasons past. The new chapter comes with new access, new protection, new clarity about who belongs in your inner circle and who does not. Your story is not finished. It is not ending. It is not diminishing or fading. Your story is turning, shifting, moving in a new direction. And chosen one, hear this clearly, that turn is entirely in your favor. Everything that was working against you is being removed or repositioned. Everything that was blocking your path is being cleared. Everything that was stolen, delayed, or diverted is being restored with the kind of precision and completeness that only heaven can orchestrate. Walk into what is ahead with your head up and your heart confident. You were faithful when it was hard. You stayed true when staying true cost you something. You refused to become bitter when bitterness was the easier path. And that faithfulness, that integrity, that refusal to compromise who you are even under pressure has not gone unnoticed. Your vindication is not just coming. It is already here, already in motion, already producing the early fruit that will multiply into a full harvest in the weeks and months ahead. Amen.